The scoreboard page shows the top performing teams and how you compare against them. The first scoreboard tracks the annual competition. Below that is the scoreboard that tracks the monthly game. You can also click on your province to see where you rank among the teams from schools in your region. Let's talk about the different columns you see here in a bit more detail. The first two columns show the team's position and name. Next is a column that shows you the income earned. This includes both interest and dividend payments. If you're playing the income game, this column is very important, as qualified teams are ranked by how much income they have earned. More about qualification later. Next is three columns that show you the cash balance, the total value of all the instruments held, and the total value of the portfolio. The total value is simply the cash balance plus the holdings value. There is also a column that shows how much this total value has grown since you started the game. These last two columns are very important for the equity, speculator and ETF/ETN games, because the teams in this game are ranked by their total portfolio value. Now, remember we said that in the income game, qualifying teams are ranked by income. Well, to qualify, your total portfolio value has to be at least 30,000 Rand more than what you started with. This is why, when you look at the income game scoreboard, you will see there are two extra columns, which the other games do not have. The target growth for the income game is 30,000 Rand for every team. And the actual growth shows the Rand amount by which your total worth has changed. Every team that manages to keep their actual growth above the target level qualifies to win the income game. The portfolio page has three main sections: a chart, a list of the instruments you own, and some important values. Track your total portfolio value at the top of this page in a chart that tracks it over time. It is updated once a week. Further down is a table that shows you a list of all the instruments you own. Each row has helpful information. Let's take a closer look at the columns. The first column tells you which instrument you own. Notice how there is a name, and underneath that, a short code. The second column shows you how many instruments you own. Underneath that is a number that will be 0 unless you placed a pending buy or sell order for this particular instrument. The next column helps you see how much you paid for this instrument. Underneath the unit cost is the total cost. The next column shows you what this instrument's price was at the end of the previous business day. It is called the closing price. Underneath that is the value of your holding, calculated using this closing price. There's also a column that helps you see what this holding is worth today. It shows the most recent price with the value underneath calculated accordingly. The next column shows you by what percentage the value of your holdings in this instrument has changed compared to the previous closing price. This is called today's move. Underneath the percentage is the Rand value of the movement. There is also a column called overall move, which compares the current value to the initial value when you first bought the instrument. The next column shows you what percentage this instrument contributes to the total value of your portfolio. This is important because each game has limits on how much of each instrument you can have in your portfolio. These limits are explained in more detail in our other video titled, Understanding the 4 Different Games. The last column is a button that takes you to the trade page. You can use this to sell all or some of the units you own, or to buy some more. And those are all the columns in the portfolio. The bottom of the portfolio table shows you the total value of the instruments you own. Your cash balance. the total value of your portfolio, and the income that you've earned. These values match the ones in the scoreboards that we looked at earlier.